When an Etsy seller comes to me with a problem with their store, it's not selling, it's failing, what do you think that seller thinks is wrong with their store? What's the number one problem? The number one thing that sellers come to me, they think is wrong with their store. What do you think it is? This is what they think it is. SEO. So, due to Etsy and lots of people on YouTube talking endlessly about SEO, this is why people come to me. They say, my SEO is wrong, my SEO is bad, it's not working, I'm not ranking, I'm not getting visibility, right? That's completely wrong, okay? This is never the problem, never the problem. This is the problem. Bad design, product. This is the problem. And this is the hardest thing for Etsy sellers to actually accept. That it's not SEO, that it's not their photography, it's actually what they make. And especially if you sell print on demand or digital, this is even more crushing because so many of you are making average designs that will never, ever sell in any kind of volume. So this is the first thing in the system. It is what you guys are coming to me with, what you think's wrong with the store versus what it actually is. So it's not SEO, it's a bad design and or product. Okay, so the next thing is how do I evaluate a store? What do I do when someone says, here's my store, it's not selling. What's wrong with it, right? This is the first step. It's something called IST, right? And this stands for inventory, sales, and time. So let's understand this. It is how many listings you've got, right? How many sales you've made, and how long did it take you to get there? That's what Etsy is all about. This relationship between IST tells me exactly what's going on with your store. And this is the first port of call when I target and focus in on what's going on with your store. How many listings have you got? Inventory. How many listings have you got? Well, if you've got 1,000 sales and 100 listings, that's very different to 500 listings and 1,000 sales. The store that's got 100 listings and 1,000 sales is doing way, way better than the store with 500. So that's the first thing. You look at the listings. Well, what's the quality of the listings? Is it good? Is it bad? How many are selling? How many aren't selling? What's the relationship between the numbers? This is critical. This is how you diagnose an Etsy store. This is how you deal with working out what's going on with an Etsy store. So sales, well, how many sales have you got? 100, 1,000, 10,000? And most importantly, well, how long did it take you to get there? So people often say, you guys say to me, Nick, look at this store. They do what I do, but they've got so many more sales than me. And I say, well, how long have they been doing this? And I say, how long have you been doing it? And you'll say a year or 6 months. And then I say, how long have these guys been doing it? And you say, oh, 5 years. Oh, right, they're a COVID store. They were born in COVID. It was so easy to rack up thousands and thousands of sales and build visibility back then. The amount of times someone shows me a COVID store and doesn't click in their mind, that's why they did it. And that's why I can't do it, because I'm not in COVID, it's gone, right? So that's the first thing, okay? IST, the relationship between these three things. This is what matters. So don't let anyone tell you SEO, Etsy ads, social media, all this garbage. It doesn't matter. This is where it's at, right? So from there, what I do is I put your store through a 12-point audit system. Okay, So the 12-point audit system works with this stuff. It works with these 3 points: inventory, sales, and time. So once I look through your store, I get to see exactly where the weak points are. Exactly where the weak points are. And I'll let you into a little secret here. I've never mentioned this before. In fact, I've never really talked about this in detail before. I look through, I do the audit, and it identifies the weak points. And I'll tell you straight, hardly anybody gets a score over 4 out of 12. 4's the maximum. Everyone usually gets 2 out of 12, 3 out of 12. I get a handful, maybe 3 or 4 out of 12s. Once every few weeks, couple of months, I'll get a 5. And I can't remember the last time I got a 6 out of 12, but hardly ever. And this is actually correct. Because if you came to me with a high audit score, you wouldn't be talking to me. Because to get a high audit score, and what I mean by a high audit score is 8 out of 12 and above, right? I think I've only ever had 2 stores in 11 years actually get 8 out of 12. But if you get a high audit score, it means you don't need help. But of course, you won't come to me with a high audit score. So this is good news. It's good news because whatever's going on in your store or not happening is there to be improved. So these 12 points, these audit areas, are things like inventory management. How do you control the movement of inventory in your store? Listing control. What are you doing with your listings? How are you listing them? What's going on with your photography and video? Are you selling to people? Are you stopping your store selling to people? And if this is starting to resonate with you, or you can start to see possible problems, at the end of this video, there's a link to book a free call with me. This is what I'm going to talk to you about. This is the deal. This is what I talk to with my clients in this free call, right? So we start to look at management of your store, your inventory, your photography, your video, your pricing, your branding. All of this stuff sits inside inventory, sales, and time. And the more of these failures you turn into passes, right? And let me just make, actually I'll put it here. The more traffic you get and the more sales you make. Now let me be clear on this. Once a store gets to 6 out of 12, right? And I'm working with stores that get 2 out of 12, 3 out of 12, occasionally 4 out of 12. Once they get to 6 out of 12, they are making hundreds of sales, okay? Now, it's not easy to get to 6 out of 12, but when you do, you will be making hundreds of sales. This is tough. Once you get to 6, getting from 6 to 8 is massively easier compared to getting from 3 or 4 out of 12 to 6 out of 12. You get more traffic and more sales. And this is because you are systematically fixing everything wrong in IST, everything wrong in the 12 points of your personal audit. So this is a structure. Now, here's another fact. When you work on your Etsy store, when I work with you on your Etsy store, when you do all the work that comes out of this system, at minimum, you will be working for the rest of this year. So a full 11 months of work will come out of the process of learning what you've got to do. Do you see? You never get out without putting in. So once you do the work, which would be all of this year, the store benefits start to come back to you. And they don't come back straight away. This is another thing. Just because you start work tomorrow doesn't mean all of a sudden the sales come in next week. There's time involved, usually a couple of months from when you start to do something real and significant in improving your store to start to see the changes. But now is the time. So when people say, well, when's the best time to work on your Etsy store? In terms of money you can make and sales, now, January, February, March, so that you can get all that work into your store and get it progressing before we get to September this year, when all the traffic goes up again, and then we go into Q4, and that's where everybody makes their sales. Here's another fact that you may not know. Most Etsy stores will make more sales in October, November, and December than the rest of the year combined. Just let that sink in. You may not have heard that. And there's a good reason for that. The traffic goes up, way up on Etsy, and of course everyone's shopping for Christmas. But it means where we are now in January, we've got almost a whole year to start putting a structure and a plan in place. So hopefully this is resonating with you, the clarity and the depth of what I'm doing here. And now is the time if you want to work with me. So make sure at the end of this video, you click on the link to the discovery call. So here's one final tip, one final thing that I want you to know, right? And this comes from 11 years. I don't know what that was that just fell off. 11 years of doing this job. If you can do 1 year of work, if you can do one consistent year of work, from my experience, your store will be twice as likely to succeed. Okay? Because here's the bit that most people don't realize. If you set up a shop, a real world bricks and mortar shop, we know those figures. 80% of businesses, 85% of businesses fail within the first 3 years. Yes, that's because it's bricks and mortar. There's so many costs that are involved in running a real world business. But it changes for Etsy because you get so many chances to make it better. Okay? It's not just a sort of one-shot deal, you succeed or fail. No, you get dozens, hundreds of opportunities to turn around or make something better and make it succeed, where you can't do that physically. So if you can put in 1 year of work into the store, yeah, it might not start off great. You might not start off selling anything, but you get hundreds of revisions, hundreds of opportunities in this first year to constantly improve your inventory, how you make things, the photography, the video. And if you get to that year, 12 months, you need to have made some sales after a year. Look, if you've made no sales at all, well, then there's obviously a serious problem. But if you make it to a year and you're willing to go beyond that, you're twice as likely to succeed in the long term, because you're ironing out all the problems in your business, ironing out all the problems inside Etsy, talking to someone like me who quickly irons out all those problems for you. So a year of work, that's what you commit to. And if you work with me, that's what I'm going to get you to commit to. So this isn't for people who don't want to do the hard work, but the rewards are there, because most people don't do this. They don't do this work. They'll try it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, give up, move on, do something else. It's hard, but the rewards are there. Of course they're still there. I work with Etsy sellers that make millions of dollars. The rewards are still there. So that's how I work. And if you want to work with me on this, the Book In Now button's coming up on your screen that takes you to a one-to-one calendar to book a Zoom call with me, so I can talk to you about how in paid consultations and mentoring I can help you build a more profitable Etsy business. Thank you.